Uh, Today I will discuss about our another product from Agumania Labs. This is another vertical, the Lease Intelligence. As the name it says, the lease. So you understand that's what we wanted to speak about. Now I wanted to log in as a user. So while logging, we're gonna see that we already have some of the documents that's uploaded for the lease. These are the two documents that is uploaded. This is a typical ingestion flow in the DocIntel. So you see that this document is rightly labeled as lease, and this document is also likely labeled as a lease extension because this is how the document is. If and I wanted to click a real quick with the source, and you see the source. These are the lease documents, right? This is in the Google storage. And then I wanted to show you basically another source. Now if you take a look, this is a lease extension document and a whole bunch of contents in it, right? Now what we will do is, as a part of the we have a normal process for the DocIntel uh, that you know upload the documents, then do the chunking, and as we do the chunking, we can see the chunk here, right? We know that. And then we do an embedding, and when we embed, uh, it stores all the records into the chunk data is into the vector database. In between, what happens is the document classification happen, like a lease is tagged as a lease extension is tagged as a lease extension. The way it happens is the AI basically, based on the documents, it identifies and tags accordingly, right? And what we said that when we load, we wanted to redact, so it does the PII redact as well. Document is in English. This is the additional tag. Document is in the PDF. That's how it found out, right? And all of these details comes as a part of our normal DocIntel workflows, and we know is a part of our normal DocIntel workflows. There is summary options, right? And when we click a lease here, that's where the lease specific agentic AI workflow is there. So I'm going to speak about that. I already ran the agentic workflow, but I will rerun again to showcase that's what it offers. So now let's take a look at before we go to the lease agentic AI workflow, let's look at the summarization option. I wanted to click the summarization. That's we have executive level summary, key points, by section level summary, details summaries, right? And we can do a PII also. What happens is during the summarization, it basically takes directly from the source document and summarize the source document. It doesn't go to the embedding, right? Because I click the PII, no card related informations and nothing personal informations related to the tenant or the landlord that comes. Tenant name might come here, right? That is okay, but none of the confidential informations that showed here, right? See, this is a say the residential lease agreement effective dates in between landlord someone and tenant someone's, right? It's for the single family residence in some address, right? The fixed term of what is the amount and all of these things, that's what it been shared. So this is how it happens as executive summary. Now you see that I showed you the lease document, and there are a lot of different points, right? And when I click by the key points, it's summarized by the paragraphs and try to find out what are the different key points that is being discussed, and it makes a summary accordingly, right? So you see, so based on the summary, you will find out some of the key points. What we targeted as a part of our agentic AI workflow is these kind of key points we try to find out, right? And basically we automated as a part of our workflow, so the information can be extracted in a structured formats, like for example lease agreement overview, amounts due, then property address, lease term, rent payments, right? And this we called typically as lease extract, and that's when we run a agentic workflow. Maybe not exactly like this, maybe it's a little bit different. Bill service, utility and services, security deposit, tenant obligations, non-refundable, a lot of different things are there, right? default by tenants and see. So here the key points, even as a part of a normal document intelligence, someone can take a look even they don't want it to go further to the lease document intelligence. These are some of the key benefits. That's what we get as a part of any documentations, that unstructured data that it comes. Then by in the section I just clicked, right, I should click the detailed right now instead of doing the sections one more time. I just wanted to showcase how powerful our normal doc intelligence are. That's where even without running a specific verticals like lease intelligence, even we get a lot of good information out of it, right? So by section, then by detail, then it expands in each of the key points, details, and explain each of these things, right? Again, these are the detailed level summaries. It basically has more verbose in it and a lot of discussions that it says, right? So this is how our typical summarization work, right? Now this is same as the lease extension. I'm not going to the same, and when we click these two, right, you will gonna see that there's a lot of option comes. Summarization to docs, compare to docs, lease compare, right? For example, I wanted to click lease compare. When I click the lease compare, this is the time you see these lease extensions followed by the lease. Then now it would gonna try to compare between these two documents, right? Say for example, there is agentic workflow compare lease amendments, right? So say for example I wanted to do a compare lease amendments. I'm just clicking this one. What is happening behind the scene is there is a workflow that is being running, that is comparing against. There's a bunch of instruction that is being given specific to the lease, and then it is basically trying to compare the informations that is existing in these two documents, right? Now this is going to run, this is going to try to compare, and we'll get the response back. For example, the comparison summary it comes, right? What is the base document is the lease extension document. Update the term earlier lease, updating the terms of the earlier lease, right? Key changes include extending the lease term by 2 years, increasing monthly rents, and modifying the security deposit, arranging from the initial payment to being characterized by the last payments. Look at that one. So it's not only from the extension, it's not only from the original document, but what it happens is it try to find out the difference between these two documents and then make a comparisons and try to put in its own way. The AI put that one. Change terms, right? There's a term before it was September 1st to 2020 to June 30th to 25. Next is after that July 1st 25 to June 30th. So it is basically rightly picked up the right informations out of it. So if I wanted to run, so for example, the agentic workflow, right? What would happen is this is what they call the evaluation results. How accurate the stuff is, we have the options to put here. But before that, it is running agentic workflow. When it learns agentic workflow, whatever see that there will be summary that would gonna come. Then there is a lease abstract. Lease abstract has an information called landlord, tenant, property address, premises, lease start, lease end, base rent escalations, renewal options, termination right. These are some of the structured informations that is being put as a part of the templates. What it gonna find with any lease related documents that it comes, it will try to get the informations and try to fit into the structured formats. So it's actually the workflow that tries to extract the informations and fit into the right template so that it's uniform, right? So that's how it is. So now see, that's the I say that's the bunch of agents, everything is completed. If you see, they rightly put that there's an approval also. Once this runs, we can approve, and once it is approved, it stays and gets stored. If it's not approved, it does not get stored. Look, first it comes with the summary, as I mentioned, right? This documents a residential lease agreement for this particular property. It extends the lease term from July 1, 25 to July 30, 2027 between landlord and tenants. The monthly rent is this, that, right? During the extended term, the agreement outlines tenant responsibilities for utility maintenance, insurance, and conditions for early terminations, right? The lease abstract, it finds out who is the landlord, who is the tenants, property address, premises, all of these informations. It basically picked it up, right? As I mentioned earlier, all of the important critical dates, lease start, lease end, rent escalations, other insurance date, all of these things are also being picked up. Obligation checklist, like for example, set up utility accounts by those are also put. Obtain and maintain a tenant insurance, these are the obligation that is being put in the so that is also there. Lease term commencement, provide evidence of tenant insurance, right? all of these things with the due date, everything is there. Those are the obligation checklist. Maintenance, property, cleanliness, and safety, right? Like a tenant has to do all of these things. Those are also there. And for example, acknowledgement, lease extension, superseded. It has to be responsibility for both. Around monthly rent, tenant has to pay. So these are all the obligation checklist there. Now the clause flag, there is a different clause, like for example the rent escalations, right? For example, terminations. What are the clause? Tenant needs 60 days of notice of early termination. Less notice incurs 2 months additional rent, security deposit not refunded. So these are some of the clause. That's structured information has been picked up and come as a part of the clause. Maintenance repair, for example, the tenant responsible for cleanliness, waste appliances, use smoke, CO, carbon monoxide detector, batteries, and damage repairs. Right? Maintenance repair, landlord maintains structural elements, roof systems, and repairs appliance fixtures unless tenant misuse. Tenant must notify. Right? So assignment of subletting, no sublease or assignment without landlord's prior written consent, no short-term rentals permitted, right? See, all of these things, whatever is being there, those comes as a part of the obligation checklist. So it's a fantastic way that in the nice structured way that it gets the information. So that means if you hand over to the tenant or to uh, mm, um, landlord or any real estate agents, right? They can basically right away they can take this. Now I save this workflow, that the workflow is getting saved, right? So this is a typical workflow that exists for the lease. Now I did mention is this for the comparisons. Even say I ran earlier one of the workflows, for example this, right? If I re-extract lease abstract, it will gonna get the same thing. So this is from the comparison I showed. Even for a particular lease also, that's you can get. This is for example, same structure, summary, right? Between these two, the fixed terms runs on something, right? So whatever it says, then it picks up the all the lease abstract like landlord, tenant, property address, premises, lease start, lease end, base rent, rent escalations, renewal options. These are the right information you need in every lease. So structured way of getting this information out is very important for big documents, right? So this is what it does. Right now that's the workflow basically works and picks up the right information. So AI generates this one. Critical days obligation checklist. You see, so I'm not running this one because I ran it already. What I did not do is earlier I did not save it, right? So I am say this is how you see this is powerful for the lease intelligence workflows to showcase that how everything works. Now you see that's the how the lease works, right? There is a lease compare also I have seen, and then next one I will gonna show you that how can we basically talk to the same things. I asked about the some of the questions earlier. For example, say I wanted to ask that's how much notice is required before lease termination. So that I wanted to ask these questions, right? When I ask these questions, let's see that's what it comes. So it comes from the original documents that it is trying to do that. Let's see, that's what it says. We'll see that notice requirements for the lease termination early termination 60 days prior, right? So any questions that anybody has, either the tenant side, landlord side, real estate agent sides, or broker side, they can ask a questions. I wanted to ask one more questions that I put earlier, right? For example, what is payment schedule or due date? Let's see, that's what we get. So it means that's other than the workflow that extract all of these informations, right? Payment schedule and due dates also is being given, right? So all the questions, there's evaluation options whether this is accurate or not with few metrics that it comes as a part of our regular workflow, right? It also we can evaluate and can see that's what is the score of that. So, and another one, that's so let's say for example relevance 4 out of 5. Why it's relevant? It basically good one. So it gives an explanation, specificity, and the confidence, right? So see that 5 by out of 5 all of these things comes. So now if you like it, right, you can click this one, right, and then you will gonna get the full picture out of it. Hope This explains how our lease intelligence works, how the workflow works, and how the all the parties as a part of this process is getting involved and be helpful with that. Thank you so much.